Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's live stream. My name is Sarah, and I'm one of the founders of the Tech Leaders Academy. We do trainings, coaching, and we help especially tech professionals to progress in their careers. And as you can see, we also do online live events. Before we start with our topic today, I want to make a short announcement because in October we are going to launch a new masterclass. It's especially for those engineers who want to transition into a tech lead role. And a tech lead role for us means that you are influencing the technical direction within your company, but you're not managing people. So you're not see yourself or acting as a people lead or as a manager. So if you find that interesting, it's in general or in total a 6-week program. If you find that interesting and you want to join, you can check out our website and you find the link down below. So, and now coming to our topic today, and also here I need to make a short disclaimer. Because we planned originally to uncover the role of a culture and DEIB manager, but together with my guests, we decided to change the scope in a slightly different direction. So this talk will be less about the role of my guest, but rather about what is DEIB and what are typical actions that one can take in tech teams. So the official naming or title of this session is now How Can We Improve Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Within Tech Teams? And as always, if you have questions or if you want to share your opinions on this topic, you can interact with us. For that, just use the different chat options on your platform. Good. Coming now to our guest. The guest today that I invited is Veronica Huitzil. Okay, I think I messed it up. She will correct me later. And she is culture and DEIB manager at Mindfuel. Originally, she comes from Mexico and she moved to Germany a few years ago. What I like about her and what I find really impressive is that she is sharing her learnings and experiences on LinkedIn on a very regular basis. She writes about culture, leadership, diversity, of course, and what it's like to be a working mom. So I'm very happy to have her here with me. So welcome. Here is Veronica. Hi.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Nice that you're here with us. And thanks for taking the time. So as I promised, I messed it completely up with your last name.
Not
What is
completely.
how can I pronounce it?
Is Huitzil.
Huitzil.
Yeah,
Yeah, we practiced it a couple of times before, but I already mentioned
most
that.
people don't get it right on the first try, so don't worry.
So I think I will have time, 45 minutes in order to
To learn it,
practice.
yeah.
Yeah. So cool that you're here. And as always, I would like to start with an icebreaker question that I prepared especially for you.
Okay.
And what I recognized when we had our first call yesterday is that you're someone who likes to smile a lot, which is really nice. So, what is usually the first thing in the morning that makes you smile?
I would say the first thing in the morning that makes me smile is my husband. He's the first face I see in the morning most of the time, and it's always nice to just like meet each other, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like fully awake and be like, "Good morning," and it's usually like a super nice start of the day.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, nice. Nice answer. I think if he's watching us right now, he will be very happy.
I hope he is. So better be, right?
Cool. Okay. So, Veronica, let's kick it off. So, would you also like to introduce yourself? So, who you are and what are you doing actually?
Yes, I would love to. So, like you already mentioned, I'm Veronica. I come from Mexico, and I've been in Germany, in the south of Germany, for about 3 years, more or less, 3.5. And I am the culture and date manager at Mindfuel. In Yeah, it's a job that is my passion. I love it. It's something that makes me also smile every day. I Yeah, I love it. Everyone that talks to me about it can tell that it's something that really fills up my heart completely.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Can you also give us like a bit background, because you haven't started your career in IT, you moved into IT when you came to
Yes.
Germany. So what is your background and your career journey?
Okay, so that is a very interesting story. I started with studying literature, art history, and
Mhm,
philosophy,
mhm,
and also later on studying linguistics and education. So I'm more in the background of teaching and education and all this stuff. I was a literature teacher, a creative writing teacher, academic writing, language teacher for a long time. And coming to Germany, I realized that teaching was really not an option due to like the strict regulations to be able to teach and so on. And I just stumbled into Mindfuel and
mhm,
completely fell in love with the company. And yeah, I had, when in my previous jobs back in Mexico, I had some touch points with intercultural communication and some other types of trainings, which I always was very passionate about as well in university with the intercultural clubs and the help for the exchange students and so on. So I pitched myself to
mhm.
Mindfuel, and that was 2 years ago. And yeah, it's been, yeah, I would say it's been a really, really awesome 2 years.
Yes, I can remember that because I think before you joined Mindful, we already interacted a little bit on
Yeah,
LinkedIn. And you asked me, how is it possible to enter the data analytics field in
yeah,
Germany? And I think, I don't know exactly what I answered, but from this time, I started following your journey. And when I saw that you landed the job at Mindful, I was really happy for you because like, I can imagine that it can feel quite overwhelming when you come to a new country and then you're changing also the field of the profession. And if you then get the chance to prove yourself, it can, like, it's the best thing that can happen to you. And as
yeah,
you can see, now you're already with the company for more than 2 years. And you developed yourself into a very important direction, which is really, really nice. And I hope also very like a positive signal also to people that think about joining the IT industry in general.
definitely. I think it's super fulfilling to restart your career, right? It's always for moments it can be a little bit frustrating to be like, I have to start everything again.
Mhm.
Like, but I already did all the beginning of a career path. Why do I have to do this all over again?
Yeah,
But it's twice as fulfilling when you get to do it again and then you do it and it works out. And yeah, then you
yeah,
can be
really, really,
proud. Yeah.
really nice. Yeah, really nice, and you can also be proud of you, definitely. Um, Let me ask you one more thing about that. So, what is Mindful doing? I think some of the watchers may know it, but probably some don't.
Yeah, so Mindfuel, we are on the data product management. We're pioneers in data product management. I invite everyone to follow us. We have a lot of experts talking about it on LinkedIn. I think it's a great um, page for learning. If anyone here is into data product management, I think the best place to go is just follow us. We have live events as well. There are in-person gatherings. There are some live Q&A sessions, and yeah, it's it's a company that really is full of very knowledgeable people, a lot of experts, but everyone's incredibly nice and incredibly friendly. And that is something that to this day makes me love working at the company, because you only find true mindful people. That's how we call it. Like, everyone
Mhm.
really, really cares, and it's great.
You started actually in a different position as a sales manager, and
That's
later
right.
on, you transitioned into your current role. So, how did that happen?
Well, when I applied for the job, I just knew that I wanted to work at Mindfuel. for sure.
Mhm.
And because I love the company, so there was not really a position open for DEIB and culture, right? So I just applied, and I was like, I just want to work. I'll do whatever. I'll learn
Mhm.
whatever. Just I want to join Mindfuel, and I really want to. I just really want to enjoy being
Mhm.
part of this company and what this company is doing.
Mhm.
So in that moment, there was an opportunity to join in the sales team, and I was like, yes, let's do it. I'll do whatever it takes. And from there, a few months later, I pitched to the leadership team the idea of DEIB, and from there, it just started to happen.
Mhm.
And now here we are.
And since when are you in this new role?
So officially full time this year,
Mhm.
but I think the beginning of it was already like 4 or 5 months after I started, that I was already
Mhm.
focusing a few hours on it, and just slowly but surely made it all the way to like full time
Yeah,
focus. Yeah.
cool. So Veronica, we have to really make it like clear. And let's start. What is DEIB? So what is DEIB? Because I see a lot of hype also around this topic.
Yes.
I see the awareness is increasing, but
Mm-hmm.
what is it actually? Can you give us a short and also concise definition of that?
Well, as you said at the beginning, DEIB stands for diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And yeah, it's the thing, is the backbone, right? Is what builds or helps companies build stronger teams, and
Mhm.
in my opinion also foster creativity,
Mhm.
improve the business growth, and just help attract and retain top talent, right?
Mhm.
Because that's what we all want. We want to feel valued, we want to feel seen, and we want to feel like we contribute to
Mhm.
something bigger than ourselves.
Mhm. And what is now the differences between these four terms? So, what is the difference between diversity and inclusion, for example? Isn't it all the same?
I think they all go together.
Mhm.
So diversity, of course, is the difference. But one thing is to have a bunch of different people. I mean, and then we also have to think about the fact that there's a lot of different types of diversity, right? We have cultural diversity, we have racial diversity, we have religious diversity, age diversity, gender diversity, sexual orientation diversity, neurodiversity. So there is all these people, but inclusion brings everyone to actually contribute, to have space. It's not about having people just to have them. It's not about filling out quotas, right? Because a lot of
Mhm.
times you see at this point that a lot of companies want to increase their diversity quotas. So they're going to
Mhm.
hire more women, or they're going to promote only women, or they're
Mhm.
like, let's look for people of this background or this beliefs just to get better numbers.
Mhm.
But that's when inclusion and equity come in, because you want to, yes, bring a lot of different people into the mix, because you want this difference of backgrounds to bring different ideas, to bring different connections, and just help everyone. But everyone should thrive together. They need to bring all this richness
Mhm.
into the same pot to
Mhm.
reach the success, right? And this is when everyone's included, every voice is heard. And then
Mhm.
with equity, everyone has also the same opportunities to grow within the company, to develop. And well, belonging is just the cherry on top, which
Yeah.
is that everyone feels like they're a part of something bigger, which
Mhm.
is, yeah.
So actually, this is a very, very important, but on the same time, very tough topic, I have to say. So I can only say it from my opinion. I really find it very important. And on the same time, I'm a bit afraid of this topic to raise my voice a little bit louder because I'm afraid to do something wrong. And I think that's the complete wrong signal because like keep your mouth closed and not talk about it is even worse than do mistakes. So what are your learnings on the journey of yeah, like when you interact a little bit more with this topic. So, what are your personal learnings about this?
I think for me, at least, what I've seen in different companies, not only at Mindfield but also in the past, is that is you just have to jump right
Mm-hmm.
into it, right? If it's something that you want to be a better ally to your colleagues or so on, if you see something, say something,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's how it is. If you are in doubt, then ask. There
Mm-hmm.
is no better way to learn than either by perhaps making a mistake, yes, but then you learn and you apologize perhaps, or just asking. There is no better way to be a good ally than to ask, how can I support you? Because sometimes people don't want you to fix the problem, perhaps they just want you to listen, or perhaps they
Mm-hmm.
do want you to support them and come with them to like some sort of meeting or anything like this. So I think
Yeah.
just
Yeah, it's a funny thing that we're talking about belonging, and on the same time, oftentimes you have the fear about raising your voices about important
yeah,
topics because you are afraid not belong to a mainstream opinion, maybe. And yeah, it's a contradicting argument or contradicting
I think
observation
so.
that I have. And I think there's nothing that should stop you. And I completely agree with what you're saying. You should better try out and
I
not
think so.
Yeah. We got a comment from Belinda. Hi, Belinda. Nice to have you here with us. So, dealing with intersectionality is one of the biggest challenges for companies trying to implement DEIB as part of their company values. Do you also see, like, do you agree with this opinion?
Totally. I think there's that Belinda has like, yeah, I completely agree with what she's saying. I think it's very very difficult, right? That like the whole interconnected nature of like race and class and gender. It's like how we can like overlap and all of these
Mm,
different types of, also if you think about, of biases, of discriminations, of disadvantages. It's a very sensitive topic, I would say. Is not the easiest part. And yes, trying to implement DAPE as part of company values, I think it's very hard. For example, for us, DAPE is not one of our core values, to be honest. It's one of the pillars of our culture strategy,
mhm,
yes, and it's very important. But I have seen companies that actually use or have DAPE as part of their values, which I find super important and super interesting. But in my opinion, at least, values are this sentences, or like, because in my opinion,
mhm,
values mean different things usually to different people. Like if you think of,
mm,
like, I don't know, integrity or collaboration, every person that you ask, maybe they don't have the sense of what it means to your colleague or to
mhm,
your lead, right? And then it gets very hard to put the value into practice. And
mm,
so what we try to do at Mindfuel is that all of our core values are something that we can actually translate into daily life, into daily actions, so that it's easier for us to be clear. It's not just something that it's on the paper,
mhm.
right? Because it's
Or
super
on the
nice.
wall, or on the
Yeah, so
wall.
you
Some
have it on
people
a
have that.
poster. It's like, there are the
Yeah.
values. Just look at them.
Mm.
They're pretty. But what is nice about our values is that we have an interpretation guide, just to call it something.
Mhm,
And so we know this value for this person or for this team, usually because the teams are the ones that decided, means this
mhm,
on a day to day. So how
mhm,
can I live? I don't know. One of my favorite values for Mindful is always truly care. So what does it mean to
mhm,
me? How do I always truly care in my work, in the tasks that I'm doing? In I feel like this gives our values a little bit of an easier way to keep them alive and to
mhm,
keep them going and keep them part of as the foundation of our company. Because if you can live them, if you have a clear guide of how to live them, then it's easier to keep them there, right?
yeah, for
Rather
sure.
than just the
Yeah.
poster. sort of.
I think if you can translate them into true actions is a lot easier. And if you like keep it in on a very abstract level, everyone can interpret it in their ways, which can
Exactly.
also lead to confusion.
Yeah.
So, how do you take your, or what are you actually doing in your role? Can you also give us an example of an DIBE initiative that you're working on currently?
So what I do in the DEIB and culture department is that I try to enable everyone else
Hmm.
at Mindfuel. So culture and DEIB are not my job. My
Hmm.
job is to enable everyone in the company to have the right tools, to have the right formats, perhaps to have the right support, to be
Hmm.
able to live with them and foster them themselves in their own teams. And when they need
Hmm.
support and they need something, then they can, of course, come to me and they're like, "Hey, there's this issue. How can we make it?" or something like this. But I think my main task is to be able to provide everyone at Mindfield with the right tools and the
Hmm.
right support so they can themselves be responsible for the culture and the values within their teams,
Hmm.
which is the only way to be truly successful, in my opinion, when it comes to culture, right? Because at some point, one person cannot overlook that the culture has been maintained and that the culture is staying. So
Yeah.
um yeah, that's how.
What are typical tools that you're providing?
We have a very nice library, just to call it,
Hmm.
with a lot of resources when it comes to work-life balance, mental health, how to bring
Mm.
diversity into recruiting. So our recruiting
Hmm.
team is super involved and super committed to try to be better every time. How to
Hmm.
use maybe how to get inclusive language into the job postings. How to make sure that we are being neutral when we're writing the job postings, right?
Hmm.
So try to support in this, or also in the onboardings, for example. The
Hmm.
onboarding team is always very committed to be inclusive, to use the right words, to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to set up their pronouns on their
Hmm.
signatures or Slack, just so that everyone feels welcome
Hmm.
and accepted from the beginning. We also have, so we started the mental health first aider program as well. So if anyone is having a hard time, or they're like facing some challenges, they know that there's a safe space with someone in the company to go and talk and figure out if there's something that, in which way the culture team can support them.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have a lot. I could list you like out of the things we're doing. I'm very proud, but yeah.
Yeah, and Belinda loves it actually. Love the idea of a resource center.
Oh,
Nice,
thank you.
Veronica.
Yes, I find it
Yeah,
very.
that's and what I really want to highlight here is that the role didn't exist before. So you created it on your own and then
Yes,
pitched it in front
I
of
did.
the leadership level, and then you convince them that it's important to invest in this topic. And this is so like
That's right.
incredible because I don't I think it can be hard in some companies to pitch such ideas,
Hmm.
but it's really nice to see like these examples as you are, that it's possible and that you can have real impact with the work with your work.
Yes, but I think this is a very important point. So
Hmm.
for smaller companies, usually David culture is not a big priority, right?
Hmm.
And I think in order, like what you said, this role didn't exist before, but if it weren't for the commitment to culture and Dave
Hmm.
from the leadership team, then they wouldn't have come up, right? It would
Yeah.
have come up like in maybe some other companies when they start looking into Dave and culture when there's 500 people and then the
Hmm.
culture needs to be repaired because there's damage
True.
control rather than
Hmm.
foundational work. And I think, I mean, the fact that I was able to make this a real thing, it's because the leadership team believed in the importance, right? I pitched it and I show how
Hmm.
passionate it was, but if they wouldn't have believed that this is an important role,
Hmm.
then it would have turned into nothing, right?
Yeah.
They would have been like, "Oh yeah, nice. Okay, bye."
Yeah.
some other
Yeah,
time.
that's true.
Come back in 2 years or something. But
Yeah.
that's been part of the reason why this has been so successful, because
Mhm.
the leadership team is very committed, and I've always had the support of the CEO saying, yes, this is a super important topic, yes, let's do it. And when the company sees that they are committed, then of course everyone will follow, right? When
Yeah.
you see, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the true idea of being a
Mm-hmm.
leader, is that you lead in a specific direction
Of
and
course.
others can follow.
Mm-hmm.
Really nice. So let's dig even deeper and bring it more into the
Yeah.
technology part. Therefore, we received a question from Benjamin. Hi, Benjamin. Nice to have you with us. So, hi, Veronica. Thank you so much for all these interesting insights. My question: how does the average techie accept join the thought of DEIB? Thanks for doing what you are doing.
I mean, I think it's always a little bit tricky, right? I feel like the tech world is facing way many more challenges when it comes to this, but sometimes, like, you try to bring diversity for the right reasons into your company and all of this, but it's harder because there is not such a diverse pool of candidates to begin with. So
Hmm.
you can accept the importance, but you have to live it as well. When you see what diversity does, or what DEIB in general does to your company, all the benefits it brings as well, right? Because it will, diverse teams have, there are studies that show that they're more successful, they're more involved. But when there is just a lack
Mhm.
of people that you can hire,
Mhm.
then that becomes a problem. I mean, I was doing some research before our call to really bring the right numbers, and men hold over 75% of technical jobs,
Mhm.
right? Um, and white and Asian employees make up over 83% of the
Mhm.
work. But this is, the thing comes all the way from education, right? The lack of opportunities, and how young women maybe don't have the same opportunities to enter the tech world. Why? Apparently, it says because 50% of the people, like minorities, women, and members of the LGBTQI plus community, usually face a lot of bias in their day to day
Mhm.
to be able to join the tech world, right? So I think this is a problem. This is almost like the hen and the egg, right? So we want to bring more people. We want to show techies how to embrace diversity and all the advantages it brings to their companies, but then we cannot, because we cannot find the people, because there are no people.
Mhm.
And
So, what would you actually do if you meet a techie, let's call it that way, and he or she is not really into this topic and you want to create awareness? Do you have any tip how you can increase at least the awareness? Because I think that's always the first step, take or increase awareness and then take some actions.
yes, awareness, I think, is the most important thing. I mean,
Mm.
for a lot of people, it's like a nice to do,
Mhm.
but not like a must do.
Mhm.
And I think a way to bring more awareness in a
Mhm.
way is to try to just frame the discussion the right way. I mean, in a lot of cases, there is business goals, there are product goals. Then maybe we can also have real day roles, right? So if we can have strict revenue goals, for
Mhm.
example, we could also have strict day roles, for example, that actually have a real, not consequence, right? But there is real accountability that focus, that will like follow a missed goal,
Mhm.
just like there's accountability when the revenue goal is missed, right?
Mhm.
So I think this is a way to create awareness, to just like really drive inclusion efforts, for example. So why is there still gaps? Because we're like, yeah, so it's not happening, but we're not really holding ourselves accountable to make it happen, right?
Yeah.
And when we don't really, when we're not strict about it, then we're kind of losing, because without this effort, perhaps we cannot have such a diverse team. And without such a diverse team, then, well, we're missing the different perspectives, we're missing the different insights, and that will affect everyone on the team, right? The decision makers are not diverse, then they don't have the different experiences that would maybe give them different perspectives that would perhaps bring change in the company and more successes.
Yeah. So definitely, again, it comes also with a top-down approach in a way. So if you have the goals, which of course also should align with the company goals, made up hopefully by the whole team, but at
Yes.
least by the leadership team. And then you're also like working as an advocate for this topic. So also always creating awareness
Yes.
and talking about it, and yeah, raising the awareness by talking about the topic in particular.
Definitely. But I think that accountability and the prioritization of DEIB need to be really top down and bottom up, right? Like
Yeah.
everybody needs to be aware and really understand the importance so they can really drive.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there comes a good question from Julia. Hi, Julia. Nice that you're here with us. So, how can DAPE goals be measured? Do you have any experience with that? Because I can assume it's quite difficult.
It is quite difficult. At least it has been quite difficult for me. I know, like, of course, being at Mindfuel, I want a very data-driven approach to it. But sometimes it's hard in a way that, for example, if you want to measure the success of diversity, there is the typical, let's see how many women, how many
Yeah,
people from this race are
like this
here.
binary
Yeah,
decision making.
but to me, having a certain number of, or to us at Mindful, I should say, having a certain number of whatever, whoever, doesn't mean success in diversity or in DEIB.
Yeah.
And the same with having this many diverse people in leadership or whatever. Yes, it's important, but the most important thing should be that we're hiring or we're welcoming the right people because of their skills and what they will bring to the company, no matter who they are, right? Because I think that focusing on DEIB should not mean taking away opportunities from white men as well, right? Because that's
Yeah.
not what we want. It's like, all right, now it's our turn. You guys stay there. You're not getting promoted. You're not getting hired. Go away. Let's bring the ones that have suffered in the past from this.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, that should never be the case. What we want is equity, that everyone can have the same opportunity to be hired because of who they are and their talents and their experience. Right? And I think that's exactly what makes it so difficult. Because having the right numbers, it's quite easy, right? You just know, like, from now on, we're only hiring this group. And then
Yeah.
we like bring it. And then if you're part of 3 different groups, like, I was joking one day, I was like, well, if it's about numbers, then I'm a foreigner, I'm a woman, and I'm also like Hispanic, right? So it's a minority. So I get, like, I can check 3 diversity boxes if someone hires me. It's great. But
Yeah.
how do I feel if I'm only getting hired because I can check all the recruiting date boxes?
Yeah.
I mean, that should never be the point.
Yeah, that's true. Especially when it comes to hiring and you take these diversity goals into the hiring process. Of course, or maybe not, of course, maybe there are companies that try to measure it in a way. I don't know if you have some experience or exchanges with people about that in different companies. But I think it should never be something that you communicate directly to new hires because it can feel really weird if you notify that I don't know, you have been accepted because, not because, but
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have been accepted and you also fit to the diversity goals, which can be, yeah,
yeah.
can also make a weird signal to people.
And it, oh,
However,
sorry.
yeah, sorry,
Mhm.
go ahead, please.
No, I was going to say that then comes the topic of belonging, right? That's very
Mhm.
hard to measure because that's a feeling.
Yeah.
It's yeah, you can do mood pulses and you can check in with the people to see
Mhm.
how they're feeling. But I feel like um, culture and DEIB, in my opinion, is something that usually, or that has been my experience, it's very hard to value and very hard
Mhm.
to measure when it's done right. Because
Mhm.
everything's flowing, everybody's happy, everything's okay,
Mhm.
right? The moment you realize you have a problem regarding
Mhm.
DEIB or regarding culture is because something is broken or something is damaged or there is some like repair that needs to be done,
Yeah.
right? Because it's this like soul work almost that you have
Yeah.
to deal with the people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So, Julia, if you have any opinion on that or your own experience, how we can all measure these initiatives in a better way, feel free to add it. We would be very interested to hear your thoughts about that.
Yes.
And actually, now I'm a bit jumping between the different
Mhm.
comments because we get so many comments from
Yeah.
you. Thank you very much. So, Frank, hi. Nice that you also joining us. He is, yeah, agreeing with your statement that numbers alone are also not a good goal, in my
Yes.
opinion, because hiring diverse people just for the numbers and to check boxes is worthless if they are not accepted by company culture for who or what they are.
Exactly. 100%. Yeah.
So, what do you think? How much is diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging influencing also the software products that we are building? Because you at Mindfuel, you are a data product studio, so you also help companies to build data products. So, where actually can you also take influence on how to build DAPE products? I will call it that way,
I
or DAPE
mean,
acceptable products. How would you say that?
I think it's a very interesting question. I mean, I feel like, at least, or from a lot of readings that I've done, a lot of times the products or anything will be as accepting of DEIB
Mhm.
or as biased as the people creating it, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, true.
it
Mhm.
all has to come from this education, also this training. I mean, diversity training or culture training should not be just for the people department, right?
Yeah.
Everybody needs to learn about unconscious biases, for example, right?
Mhm.
Because when you're creating a product, you will pass your own biases to whatever
Yeah.
it is you're working. And that's when a diverse team comes in handy because everyone will be able to spot each other's blind spots or each other's
Mhm.
biases, and then you can create a more inclusive product perhaps.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
by the way, last week I was at Code Talks, where I also was at a talk. I think
Mhm.
Julia, who's currently watching us, she was moderating this talk. It was about how to create a useful and unbiased AI. And it was exactly going into the same direction. If the people that are working to build these algorithms and these data
Mhm.
products, if they are not aware of their biases, and of course we all have our biases, we are
Everyone.
not completely free of bias, but if you are aware, you can at least decrease the risk of
Yes.
building really unbiased products.
Mhm. I agree. Yeah, and it's all about that, right? When you're aware, it's easier to face
Yeah.
and accept because there's nothing wrong. We're humans. We're all biased, and
Mm.
it's just part of our human nature.
Yeah.
But this acceptance leads to growth and improvement, and then we'll translate this into a
Hmm.
product. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, we have more questions here,
Ooh.
or comments, like taking that one. Benjamin again, having more people agreeing to DAPE creates more people supporting DAPE. Thanks for your answer. So I think that relates to his question that he had
Mhm.
previously. Thank you for that. And also, yeah, Julia again. She writes, what are examples how companies can start implementing the concept of DAPE in their daily work, and who could help creating a resource center so we don't forget anything? Really nice question. Thank you.
Yeah, I love it. So, at least I can give you our example. Everything started with creating awareness. So,
Mhm.
everything started creating awareness company wide of the importance of day, what it meant, because of course, everyone found it very important,
Mhm.
right? But like they were not fully aware of all the benefits that like really focusing on it would bring. So that's how it started, and from there we tried to look for different trainings. Like I mentioned, we worked a lot and talked a lot about unconscious biases, for example. And
Mhm.
then we have different toolkits as well. We have guest speakers coming to talk
Mhm.
to everyone in this like lunches, right? So that they can, whoever's interested, they can learn a little bit more. We've had roundtable discussions, which have been super successful. So every quarter, we try to organize the different focuses on, for example, when it was International Women's Day, we were talking about equity, right?
Mhm.
And so there are guest speakers coming, and then there's also roundtables discussions where people can, within the company, we can just openly talk to each other about these important topics that
Mhm.
sometimes we don't make room for. So we try to do this a lot, as well as having a big, very big library of resources for whenever someone might need something of all sorts of DABE and culture related topics. So for us, DABE and culture are one kind of, so no, but yes, they're very close together, and Dave
Mhm.
is one of our pillars for our culture. So yeah.
Mhm. Cool. So, as many of our like community members or audience that are joining our events on a regular basis, they are engineering managers or tech leads. So they have a lot of influence already on
Mm-hmm.
how to build a sustainable software or whom to hire, and they are also leading teams oftentimes. So, what can you recommend to them? What can they do? What is an easy doing, or maybe low hanging fruit action they can take in order to get the awareness increased,
Yeah.
um, especially if they don't have someone like you in the company? So just imagine they don't have someone particular for culture and DAPE. What can they do?
Mm. Well, I think it's very important, of course, to ensure that in the recruiting processes there is representation of diverse
Hmm.
talent. You cannot expect to hire diverse or
Hmm.
have a diverse representation in your
Hmm.
candidates when you don't have
Hmm.
a diverse recruiting team as well. But
Yeah.
you can also promote accountability, right? When you are a role model, as a lead, you're a role model. Whatever is important to you, then will be important for the company,
Hmm.
right? So when there is transparency, when the biases are addressed, when you're fostering belonging through like support and training and acceptance, then people are seeing that this is an important thing for the company, so therefore it's important for them. It's
Hmm.
almost impossible to expect that you'll have an inclusive and diverse company when the leaders do
Hmm.
not take accountability for it.
Yeah. Do you have any concrete resources on how to define job ads? Yeah, with a language of that is more inclusive, for example.
In this moment, I don't. I'm happy to share them with
Hmm.
you at some point. I would have to talk
Yeah.
to my
It's okay.
calling my recruiting hero colleague.
Yeah.
But I'm super happy to share them, and then perhaps we can
Yeah.
share them
So
somehow.
if you stumble upon it, it can be
Yeah,
from Mindful, but it can also be if you read something
there
from
are a lot of
other
articles.
pioneers. Yeah.
Yeah,
Feel
so
free to send it to me, then I can also join it with the community. So I
nice.
think there are many people interested in how to increase the hiring process and yeah, how to increase also or improve the language within the job descriptions.
Yeah, but just sorry to really quickly close this topic about leads. I think
Mm,
that it's very important that if you have this leadership position somehow, it's very important that to be someone people can trust, right? No
yeah.
matter what, that you're the example
Mm,
of empowering Dave, like taking care of the culture, that you're an example of integrity, that you're inclusive yourself, and that you are always wanting to learn. If you want to have some sort of like development culture within your company, then you have to also be kind of very focused on
mm,
learning, and you have to be open to another way, because that's what diversity is, right? Be
yeah.
open to other ways, be an advocate for change, and be a, I don't know how to call it, like a next level mentor, right? You have to recognize the talent of your diverse employees and just like push them, invest time, invest attention, invest resources, and love your people. I think that it's so important, like having fun at work and having real bonds that create loyalty and commitment and retention. That is almost a luxury nowadays. So
Mm.
you really need to be the person that cares for your people. Like, I know it sounds weird, like, but it's so important that you're not afraid to, yeah,
Yeah,
love
and I
your team
think,
somehow.
like, we are also taking a lot of time looking at surveys from big tech companies and also from Stack Overflow and so on to see where especially companies are focusing when recruiting new people. And especially in this year, so many companies focus on retaining talent. And as you just mentioned, like if you care about the people, the probability that they retain for a longer time is a lot higher than if they don't feel welcomed or if they
Yes.
feel they are not like respected in a way that they wish for.
Yes, go beyond the metrics and talk about feelings and talk
Yeah.
about thoughts. That is so important. There is a super nice book called Bring Your Human to Work,
Okay. Good.
and it encourages managers actually to ask employees how they're doing, and
Hmm.
like to really pause and listen and ask, like, how are you really doing? Right? How is life? And not just like a status update. Like, how are you doing? Good. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
and I think this is it. If you're a manager that people don't want to leave, then you're retaining your talent. That
Mm.
means you're like promoting the right culture. You have everything. It's easier for a person to leave a company than to leave a manager, right?
Hmm.
So
Mm.
this is the power that you have as a lead, to be
Yeah.
the person, the role model, and just, yeah.
Thank you very much, Veronica. That's very inspirational. Thank you also for the book. We will post it later on in the comments on the different channels so that the audience will also have the chance to read it.
Cool.
And we are already a bit over the time. So unfortunately, I have to yeah, to end it here. I think we would have even more topics to talk about, and it's really nice to see your power and enthusiasm about this topic. So thank you
Yes.
very much for sharing all your ideas, your passion, bringing the values from Mindfuel to this talk, and yeah, give us also some actionable tips. So for the audience, if you further have questions to Veronica, I'm pretty sure you can write her every
Yes.
time on LinkedIn. She's happy to answer that. And yeah,
I,
like give me one more sentence. So, like from my point of view, thank you very much, Veronica, that you had been guest at our show. Hope you liked it and enjoyed it also with
Yes, I
me and the
did.
audience. And yeah, like you will have the last words. I will hand over to you to have the last words, and then we can end it here.
Yes, so thank you. Thanks so much for having me. Like you said, if anyone wants to continue the conversation, this is something that I'm very passionate about. So I'm always happy to talk about it and to help anyone in any way that I can. And yeah, I thank you for having me once again. And remember that culture is what happens when no one's looking. That's the main thing to remember, right? You set the right foundation so that you know that the right things are happening in your teams, even when you're not there.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Nice and wise words. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.